Welcome to South Shore Piano, the official podcast of the South Shore Piano School. I'm your host, Jonathan Roberts, and on this podcast, we talk with students, parents, teachers, and other leaders to find out exactly how music education and the arts are changing lives every day. My guest today is Kim Nguyen. Kim is an adult learner and has been taking piano lessons for the past year and a half. She is a dentist and an adjunct professor at the Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences University. Kim has been a powerhouse student, making steady progress every step of the way. She's performed in virtual recitals, just wonderful attitude, and just an inspiration. Kim, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Jonathan.
Absolutely. I'd love to take it back to the beginning. It's been, I think, about a year and a half now since you started your piano journey. Take me back to the beginning. What got you excited? What got you motivated to take that monumental step forward on your adult learner life in piano lessons?
So actually, I've always really wanted to play the piano. I just never got exposed to it or had the chance. And a lot of my friends actually played the piano growing up. And, you know, when you hear that like piano, it's so majestic and amazing. So as a New Year resolution, I told myself, you know, I'm going to do this for myself and just sign up for classes. So I decided just, look online, and then I found South Shore Piano School, and it was perfect for me basically. Cause the first lesson was free. So it's kind of like a free trial. So it's like no pressure. Ended up loving it.
Very cool. Was there anything in particular about this New Year's that made this the New Year's, or or is this a coincidence?
Yeah. So like I said, I didn't really have time, but I actually just finished dental school 2019. So 2020, I wanted to get into the piano because I figured with my work schedule, I could make it work. And then when I looked up South Shore Piano, what's great was you guys had weekend hours and after work hours. And, for all learning stages, and I really had no exposure whatsoever. So I was beginner, adult learner. So I kind of felt like, the odds were against me. So when I found this program, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome because now I can do it. And then 2020 New Year's, and then March was COVID, which almost seems like, that stinks, but it actually turned out to be a little bit of a blessing because then I had a lot more time to dedicate to it. And, I felt like I really improved during that time that I was, by myself quarantining, but I had a beautiful instrument to play with and practice every day.
Very cool. So you finished dental school in 2019. Yes. I didn't realize you had finished right before you started piano lessons. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So you decided it's time for the new adventure, and that just happened to work with your work life.
Yep. I was telling all my patients too, when you talk about what you want to do, like, oh, do you have any New Year resolution? And then they tell you, and then they ask you, and I'm like, actually, I want to start piano. And a lot of them like, do it. And I'm like, all right, I'll do it.
That's awesome. What brought you to dentistry?
Actually, I've always wanted to help people, and I knew I wanted to be in healthcare in some way. So I actually became a dental hygienist right after high school, and I loved being hygienist. Yeah. And then after working for about 5 years, I went back to dental school, and, I loved it so much. I actually teach part-time too. So you can imagine I can be very busy, but it's been rewarding too. So I wouldn't do anything unless I feel really passionate about it.
Absolutely. So you're doing your dental work, and then you have your adjunct. It's adjunct professorship.
Exactly. Yep.
And that's a busy schedule in itself.
Yeah.
So that leads me to my next question. With a lot of adult students, what usually happens is they're super excited for maybe the first couple months, and then the reality of juggling the work-life piano schedule sits in, and then that's where things usually things usually edge towards downhill at that point. But that hasn't happened with you. So how do you feel like you've powered through that?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I did feel like some days were harder than other days. But, what's kind of nice with this program is even though it's like a solo instrument at times, like I'm just sitting, practicing, like motivating myself, I can go to the community, our piano community, and just be like, what do you guys do when you just don't want to practice? And I asked all of our mentors, Edwina, Margaret, and you, Jonathan, and you guys gave me a lot of good feedback to just kind of switch it up, like mix it up, maybe pick a different hour of the day to practice, or take shorter you know, goals so that I can maybe it's more obtainable or something and take constant breaks. So I started doing that and it really just kept me going. Yeah.
Very cool. So a
Yeah.
combination of having that ability to sort of reach out to multiple people and say like, hey, how do you deal with this?
Yeah. Cause sometimes you do just feel kind of like you want to just be a vegetable after work or something.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And that doesn't change with even like us professionals. We, at the end of the day, we don't there's that voice in our head that says, just watch Netflix or go to bed or or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like just you can skip today, but then it becomes like a pattern and you skip the next day. Yeah,
Exactly. It snowballs and then that's when things sort of start spiraling a little bit. But that is
exactly.
so cool. Tell me how COVID affected your practice, your dentistry practice. Did you have to go totally, were you just like not working and then piano was
Yeah,
your lifeline?
pretty much actually. It was almost perfect timing. We got furloughed, all of us. The company was really sad. I worked for a big company, Pacific Dental. It's in the West Coast as well, and started spreading to the East Coast. But the East Coast was like relatively new, so they just didn't have the patient pool to keep open. So we were closed basically from April, because March is when we found out, and we kind of stayed open for
Right.
emergencies. But from April to July, that's a long time to be
Wow.
out of work. Yeah. But luckily I do find myself, I'm an athletic person, so I find myself going outdoors and trying to like, get some fresh air. Basically a lot of mental health. And then the piano too it's another mental health too. I really like the aspect of exercising my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So COVID definitely affected my work life, but I guess in a small way, it's kind of like a blessing for my personal life.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like you've found a way to make it work for your
Yeah.
personal life so you didn't sort of sink into a sort of a
Yeah.
depression that was
Yeah.
so easy to do in those early days. You've
Hmm.
also been a performer in the past year and a half on
Yeah.
two or three of these virtual recitals, and
Yep.
I admire how willing you've been to just kind of jump straight in. Usually most of the time adults feel very self-conscious playing on the same recitals as kids. But with
Yeah.
COVID, we've just kind of combined it all. I think we're
Hmm.
approaching having enough adult students that we can have a full like adult recital. But it's been
Hmm.
so cool that you've been on recitals, same recitals as adult student as the kids. But what was that experience like for you? Just a year and a half ago, you didn't know how to play the piano. Now you're performing in
I
virtual
know.
public.
It's actually kind of crazy. Like it's so exciting when I can, because you every day you don't feel like you're progressing too much. I mean, you go through the assignments, but then when you actually look back a year ago and then you see, and like I've recorded like some of my practicings as people have mentioned, like, oh, you should try record yourself so you can see. And
Yeah,
then like the amount of improvement is like awesome. So then when I felt ready for the recital, I was nervous. You're playing with a bunch of kids, you think like, oh, you're an adult, like, it's not going to be so nerve-wracking, but it actually was. But I felt like the support, I guess, from the community. And like people mess up. Luckily I didn't. But if you do, first of all, like no one really notices, and then you just keep going. And then you just you just roll with the punches, I guess. So that I think that took a lot of weight off my shoulders to just everybody messes up, just do it. It's for fun. It's to get practice in there. And then by the second, third recital, it's like it's you look forward to it. It's like it's an awesome experience. I love seeing the same people too. The same performers. Yeah, everyone's really great.
yeah, you have the opportunity to see other people's growth, and then they get to see
Yeah,
yours, and it kind of feeds off each other, which is
exactly.
pretty cool.
Hmm.
Now that we're fingers crossed, lights sort of at the end of the tunnel with this COVID business, and you're
Yeah,
back to sort of a normal work life. How do you balance that between your dentistry and your professorship and
yeah.
piano?
Um, well, actually, what's been great is the flexibility you guys have. I think you guys really understand working with adult learners that, um, you know, some the schedule changes, whatever.
Sure.
Sometimes, like, if an emergency patient runs late and I have to like just text and say like I'm running behind, or a week before I need to reschedule, even weekend appointments, because I've changed my schedule at least maybe 3 times since I started, just because I got furloughed the first time and then I got a new job with new hours. And now I'm on Saturdays, which is actually great too, because um I have weekends off. And
Yeah.
then what's crazy is I end up having to move to California, and it still works even with the time difference. So it's awesome.
Yeah, that's a silver lining of this, because if COVID
Yeah.
hadn't happened, we might be saying goodbye. If
Yeah.
we were, but you can take lessons from California, and that is just
I
so
really,
cool.
I actually really enjoy the Zoom lessons because you never know how it's going to work out. And you feel like it's in person still. Like you get the same amount of feedback, that our teachers can hear the notes very well if we mess up. So yeah, balancing has actually been really easy, just because of the flexibility that you guys offer. And
Yeah.
if I needed to take like a week or two off, that was fine too, which was really helpful for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So how does it feel now? Like a year and a half later, if you can, think about how year and a
Yeah.
half ago Kim felt. How do you feel now after having done this for a year and a half?
Yeah, that's actually a good question because I did think about that. Like when I was going through my progress, 5 months in, you're like, oh, 5 months is a long time. Have you progressed? And then a year, you're like, hey, I progressed a lot. Now I kind of wonder what I'll be like in 5 years. And then I think about 10 years, and it's kind of exciting because I really do have like these little videos, just like, you know, I try to heart them so I can look back at them and see, and you really see like you progress.
Oh,
You don't,
you actually save videos from like different.
yeah, yeah.
That is so cool.
I know. It's kind of nerdy, I feel like. I just sit and I record myself.
That's so interesting though, because I've never actually thought to do that. I mean, we of course, like we stumble upon recordings of ourselves from whenever ago, or when we're kids, our parents take videos, so it's like sort of there. But I've never
Mhm.
thought to actually intentionally video myself or somebody else with the
Yeah.
intention of like, okay, in 6 months, I'm gonna look at this video so I
I guess,
can appreciate my progress.
yeah, I didn't do it intentionally and it just
Oh,
happened that way. So it actually worked out that great. Like the first few months it wasn't intentional. And then after that, I was like, I should keep recording. So then it became like that. But yeah, I started off with like, single notes, one at a time, couple fingers. Now I can play two hands, and it's such a great feeling when like, hey, you put in this work.
yeah, absolutely. Do your friends know that you play?
Oh, everybody knows.
Oh, everybody knows.
Everybody wants
Awesome.
to go to recital. I'm a little bit like nervous. I don't want them to see yet. But
Uh,
my sister did go to my last recital. I put a little, even though Zoom, it's still a recital, so it felt real. So I had a little chair out for her, and I put a little reserve sign, reserved for Annie, my sister. And
That's
she
awesome.
sat there and she watched me play. She recorded it. I knew I was shaking, but when it was over, you feel so good.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely
Yeah.
that feeling of accomplishment. Almost no matter how it goes, there's that like little bit of relief at the end,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
for sure. So let's say there's an adult out there somewhere who's thinking about maybe taking that step to
Hmm.
take lessons, but there's that tension in there of am I talented, which we're pretty sure talent's a myth, but if we're am I talented, or is this going to be for me, or am I going to have the time? What would you say to somebody that's
I say
thinking
go
about
for it.
lessons?
Just go for it. That so besides like when I looked online, you guys had other students said really positive things, but it's like it's no pressure. Like the first meet was really comfortable. When I first met you, I remember you were so kind, introduced me to Edwina. We just dived right in and I learned so much. She wrote notes for me and I just took them home and I was like, I'm gonna keep going. And then you think, okay, one more semester. And then you think, let's just keep going. Like, why not? Just keep going. Like, you're doing this for yourself. So I say just do it. It's no pressure. If at any time you want to stop or take a break, because some people do, that you guys allow that. I love that. Because life does get busy. Maybe if you have like a family or something, which actually I did see some families in the recital, a mom and son group,
Yep.
some sibling groups. So it's like it's really flexible. Just try it because you never know unless you try. Otherwise, I wouldn't have ever known. And I'm 32 now, trying for the first time, and I wish I tried when I was 2, but I just didn't have that opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. And there's no better time to start than now, no matter
Yeah,
what age you are,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. Go for it.
Very cool. Well,
Yeah.
Kim, this has been such a fun conversation, getting to know a little bit more about your backstory and your piano journey from then to now. And you're just such an inspiration to adult learners, and just awesome stuff. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a great time. I'll see you soon, Jonathan.
See you soon. Thank you so much to all of our listeners out there. Again, this is South Shore Piano, the official podcast of the South Shore Piano School. I'm Jonathan Roberts, and on this podcast, we talk with students, parents, teachers, and other leaders to find out exactly how music education and the arts are changing lives every day. If you enjoyed this episode, do hit the subscribe button on the podcasting app of your choice. Or if you're checking out the YouTube version, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're among the first to find out about new episodes as they're released. We publish new episodes every Monday and Friday. Thank you so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.